Hey everyone, before we get on with the show, I wanted to do a Modified Black Woman shout out in support of relief efforts for Hurricane Harvey. We have a lot of listeners in the Houston area, and we have even more that want to help. Now, I'm not going to get into reasons why you shouldn't donate to the Red Cross, even though they should be obvious. But we know people want to give, and there are a lot of people out there that need relief. So, and one of the biggest group of people that need relief are going to be black women and their families. I think we've all seen the disgusting CNN video of the black woman being interviewed in a shelter while she and her children were still dripping wet, and that reporter just like pisses all off. We know people need help, and we want to make sure that effort gets out there to them. Thankfully, Ronnie Dean Byrne is coordinating an effort to donate directly to black women affected by Harvey. I'm going to give you guys two links that you should bookmark and share right now. The first is bit.ly/support black women HOU. That's bit.ly/capital SUPPORT capital BLACK capital WOMEN capital H capital O capital U. This will send you to a Google document that has the PayPal, Cash Me, Venmos for black women and their families that you can support directly. You just pick a name on the list, give generously. The money goes straight to the families there. These families have been vetted. These are people that need help that are in Houston. I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure this is just Houston, so I don't think they. I know that Louisiana is also getting hit too. I think this is just for Houston. You can also share the list on social media using the hashtag support black women HOU. The second link is for black women who are affected by Harvey and would like to be added to that list, the donate list. And that one is bit.ly/support with a capital S, capital B, capital W, capital H, capital O, capital U. Support BWHOU. You can complete the Google form there, and once your application is submitted, someone will get back to you, and they will add you to the list. If you are a black woman who is being affected by Harvey, reach out, fill out this form. Somebody will get back to you. If you know black women and their family that are affected, send them this so they can get their release from there. This is money that's going directly to them. This is radical support that gets the money directly to where it needs to go. No more going into organizations where only a portion of that money gets to where it needs to go. This money is going directly into these families' accounts. We know it's being hit. If you listen to the Insanity Check, then you know at the end we had LaToya talk about the FEMA response and how heartbreaking of what's going on there is happening. This is money that's needed and is going directly to where it needs to go. So please share this information. Donate what you can. Check the show notes for all the shows that we put this in front of. We'll make sure we include the links there for both the list for you to donate to as well as the application. Like I said, support what you can. You guys have supported us. Please, pay that forward and support others. Thank you guys now, and now on with the show.
Welcome to episode 5, y'all. So excited. Finally on episode 5. So on this episode, I'm going to start off with a review that we received. Yay, review. And then I speak to attorney Susan Berry. She's been really fantastic to the MTR family. And we kind of discussed some of her successes, some of the obstacles she's faced as an attorney, some of the things that she would recommend if you were thinking about becoming an attorney, and then kind of like where her projection is going. I see big things for Susan. And then I also speak to a young lady named Val Rich. Now, Val Rich is a 4th generation spiritualist, and she uses tarot cards. She's an intuitive tarot card reader, and we had a really interesting conversation about black women and getting over some of the stereotypes or some of the ways that we were taught and we were raised to think about spirituality and not to be afraid of some things that just are unknown to us. It was a really good conversation that I had with her. And then finally, I end the episode with a segment I'd like to call just do better. Black men, we need you to do better. I love y'all, but come on. So anyways, thank you to episode 5. I'm so excited you're back, and just keep listening. We're going to have some fun. All right, so this segment, I wanted to read a review. We got a review, y'all. Read a review that was really kind, and I very much appreciate it. I'm always going to read reviews, so if you guys have something to say, as long as it's constructive, I'm always going to read them because I want to share them with other people. If it's mean, nah. But if it's positive and constructive, if I'm doing something that you feel like I can do better, I'm always open to it. So please communicate with me. It'll make me feel like there's someone out there listening. So this came from Rich Jones, which is Rich Jones 15 on Twitter. And this is what it says. I just want to say thank you for Secret Sauce. I've sat down with each episode and truly enjoy the show. My lady Alex loves it and looks forward to each episode. Often the topics translate into conversations that we eventually have together and help us to connect, relate even deeper as a couple. That's great. That's exactly what I was looking for people to be able to hear these episodes, to listen to these women and be able to talk about it and start conversations. And yeah, this is so exciting. The guests you have on are phenomenal. These Black women creatives have a powerful voice and deserve our support for their incredible work. We really do appreciate the hard work you put into the show. I spoke to Chris before about how people don't really know the amount of work and dedication that goes into producing this type of quality podcasting. As Black men, we need to listen to Black women, and it's really that simple. It is. For all that Black women have done and continue to do with us in mind, it should be so damn easy. Unfortunately, we Black men often don't listen nearly enough. So when I see anyone, particularly Black men, disparaging Serena or Beyonce, my faves, it's that much more disappointing. I realize how this is a historical failure on our part of disrespecting the very people that literally birth us and defend us more than anyone, even when we don't deserve it. Of course, this type of cowardice is something I can never tolerate and will call out when I see it. Thank you. Thank you. That's what we need. I told Alex that I would send you a picture of her Solange acrylic painting from a seat at the table cover, which she recently completed. I got her permission to do it. And I gotta say, Alex, you are so talented. This picture is gorgeous. It's absolutely gorgeous. Yeah, I would love to talk to you. Hit me up. I would love to talk to you. I say that all to say thank you for this show, and I sincerely look forward to each episode and your amazing guests. Please know that your voice is crucial to our culture and having an important impact here in Canada, the U.S., and many across the world. Peace. Rich Jones, Montreal, Canada. So first I want to say thank you. Thank you so much. I cannot tell you how much I love this. It means a lot. I don't know who I'm talking to. I don't know if anyone's listening. I don't know if anyone, if it even matters. I just hope that it does. I'm hoping that people are interested in hearing about these phenomenal Black women or Black women experiences. And I thank you so much for reaching out to let me know that there is someone out there listening. I can't tell you how much I appreciate that. And I appreciate what you said about Black men too. I love y'all. I just wish I would get it the fuck together. That's it. I wish I would get it the fuck together. For real. And that's how we all feel. We will fight for y'all to the end of time. Just get it together. So, I just wanted to tell you thank you, and I appreciate you, and keep listening. And if you guys have someone that you would like for me to speak to, whether it's here in the States or Canada, I'm from Alaska, so Canada is my love too. Hit me up, please. I need women that want to talk about themselves and their lives. And I just want to connect and get women out there, get Black women out there. We just really need our shine. So thank you. Welcome back, guys. I have a very special guest today. I have attorney Susan Berry with me. We want to kind of talk to her and find out a little bit more about her. We hear about her all the time. Chris shouts her out all the time, but we haven't really met her on the network. And so I thought it'd be great to kind of talk to her, get a little bit about who she is, her background, what it is she does. So welcome, Susan.
Hi, everybody. Thank you, Latoya. How are you?
Great. Thank you for joining me. So tell me a little bit about yourself.
Well, I was born and raised in D.C., graduated from Duke Ellington. Shout out to D.C. Public Schools.
Mm-hmm.
I went to Michigan State University for undergrad, and then I went back to Michigan for some unknown reason. I don't know. I was asking for punishment in the cold, and I went to Thomas and Cooley Law School. Where I realized that I enjoyed doing litigation. So when I came back to DC in 2011, I decided that was for me. Now, of course, you probably remember 2008 to about 2012, 2013 was that horrible time in our economy. So
yes.
In 2011 had the highest unemployment rate for law school students.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, usually it's about 30% of law school students come out with a job and about 75% have a job within 9 months. That year, it was about 10% came out with a job and 30% had one within 9 months.
Ouch.
So everyone was kind of scrambling, trying to figure out what the heck they were about to do. So I was a part of that group, and I guess in a weird, I don't want to say lucky, but unlucky kind of way, distant family member passed away, and we had to find an attorney to help with her estate, and the attorney mentioned that he needed extra help in his office, and that's kind of how I got started in litigation in DC. It kind of went on from there.
Oh, wow. Now, what made you, I understand that you like litigation, but what made you even look into becoming an attorney in the first place?
Funny enough, when I graduated from Michigan State and I came back to DC, originally you kind of, when you're out of undergrad, you had all these hopes and dreams, mm-hmm. and you just kind of don't know what the heck you're doing with yourself. So I started an actual career as an accountant, or in accounting, I should say, and I kind of reached as high as I could go without an accounting degree. So it was a time where I was like, am I going to go back to school? And if I am, what am I going to go for? Mm-hmm. And I didn't really enjoy accounting, even though I was pretty good at it. And I had to look and figure out what it is I wanted to do. And I've always leaned towards the law. I took a few pre-law classes in undergrad, and I really enjoyed them. So I was looking at Georgetown University's paralegal program, which is a really well-versed and a really, really great paralegal program in the area. A lot of great paralegals in this area come out of that program, and they all come out with pretty good jobs at pretty great firms. So I was looking at that, and everyone kept saying, well, if you're going to be a paralegal, you might as well be a lawyer. And they were right, but,
as
you
if
kind
that
of
was
wanted
a quick
to start off
leap.
star.
I mean, as if that was a quick leap, as if that's just one step above. I mean, that's hard
Yeah.
work. Yeah.
Mind you, being a paralegal is a tenth of what it cost at the time to be a lawyer.
Mm-hmm.
So I decided, okay, let me try this LSAT thing, and I took it, and I didn't do great on it, but I did well enough to get into a few schools, and I decided to go back to Michigan because I was comfortable there, and I had friends who were already at Cooley Law School. Mm-hmm. So I said, let me go back to what I know and an area that I'm familiar with. So that's what kind of got me to law school. But once I got to law school, how everything kind of fits into place a little bit? Mm-hmm. That's where it kind of happened for me. It kind of started to, once you let go of all your previous assumptions of what you think a lawyer is or what you think the law actually is, you kind of start to figure out where you fit in it. Some people don't want to litigate. Some people never even take the bar and they know it when they walk into those doors. And for me, just the ability to understand the law isn't really black and white. It's 100 million different shades of gray. That's when I realized, so it's our job to operate in that gray and to figure out basically how to work with that gray and how to use it to each argument, to use it to your advantage, basically. And that's kind of where I fit in. That's kind of where I figured out that litigation worked for me and I enjoyed it. So that's kind of how I decided that this is what I was meant to do.
That's really interesting. Now, I'll be honest, I don't know how it works when you are a lawyer. Like, there's different areas of law, right, that you specialize in. Is that right?
Well, we can't say we specialize in anything.
Oh.
That's one of our ethical rules. I know it's crazy, but we are not allowed to say that.
Oh.
But it's kind of like doctors in a way, how they each kind of go into a different area of practice. Mm-hmm. Lawyers is kind of the same way. There are different areas that we can practice in. You have your general attorneys who practice in a lot of different areas. You have then you have your specialized, well, I guess I can't say specialized again. Your attorneys who take a area of law that they stay in for the most part. And like I said, there are attorneys who never even litigate, never take the bar, never set foot in a courtroom, and just use what they learned in law school to help them with whatever career path they choose.
Really?
That's where you find a lot of your lobbyists, a lot of your government employees. That's where you find a lot of them, because they didn't need to sit for the bar to basically talk about legislation and to be on the Hill and things like that.
That's interesting. So, what do you do? Tell me what you do.
Well, because I do litigate and I'm more geared towards private practice, my area is family law. Okay. I also have done criminal law and civil law, so family law is a part of civil law. There's pretty much criminal and civil. That's pretty much the two different types of law if you're going to litigate. Criminal is very specific. It's really just dealing with the penal code and what you're allowed to do that won't get you in trouble and won't send you to jail, and what you're not allowed to do that will send you to jail. Mm-hmm. And civil is basically everything else. Suing people, whether it's equitable, so that can be lawsuits of any kind. And then there's domestic. Then there's the domestic part of civil litigation, which is family law. And that's more where I have kind of developed my little niche, my little area that I've been focusing on for the past couple of years. But it doesn't mean that I only stay there. So I've done a lot of different work. I've done personal injury work. I've done a lot of estate and probate work, which is wills and trusts. And I've done lawsuits, smaller lawsuits usually, because bigger lawsuits could take a lot more people and a lot more money.
Mm-hmm. So to become an attorney, what type of investment do you have to make?
You got $100,000 lying around? Because that's investment. Well, it was $100,000 when I went to school. It was $100,000 about 7 years ago. Now it's probably $150,000. Mm. And that's just for school. That's not including room and board and books and everything. I would say the investment is, starting off, they have to reshape the way you think.
Interesting. So
you start off, yet they have to make you an analytical mind. So you're no longer thinking 1 + 1 is 2. You have to start believing that 1 + 1 is blue now. We're telling you that's no longer true. We now have to believe, no matter what you want, no matter how unfair or fair or how crazy you believe a law may be, or the rationale behind certain thinking, you now have to believe what is right in front of you. So it teaches you to think in a different way. Huh. So that's the biggest investment, is the way you think, the way you outline your arguments, and the way you look at the world is shifted for a little bit, because that's how you are trained to think from the time you begin law school to the time you graduate. And if you can't change your thinking, then you're not going to be able to become you're not going to be able to graduate, but you're also not going to be able to become any type of adequate attorney because you can't do what the law requires, our law anyway, requires of you.
Okay. Okay. So when I watch lawyers on television, I know that they're fictitious, but the way that they argue cases, like if I watch Law and Order, that's the closest thing I know of to an attorney.
Law and Order is like the best thing in the world. Trust me, I still love older episodes of a Law and Order.
Yes.
Oh, I'm getting echo.
Are you?
Yes.
Okay. Let's see. Let's see. Maybe it's your Skype. Do you still hear it?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Maybe we need to disconnect and reconnect. We can pause it for a few moments.
Okay.
All right. Sorry about that, guys. We had a little bit of an echo there. Okay. So you were talking about Law and Order. Why do you love it?
I love Law and Order because the really old ones represent how the law has changed and how the law is completely different now. So if you watch other episodes, like really, really old episodes, like the first, I don't know, 8 or 9 seasons, it's completely different law than the last. So that's just more of a, I'm a lawyer and I know that the law has changed since then. Mm-hmm. But mostly, I don't know in what world, it's just Kings County, New York has its own set of laws that they just get to break. And they get to do all this crazy, fantastical stuff that you never see in court. People don't just yell at each other on the stand. You don't get to do half the stuff that Jack McCoy gets to do. And it's just, I mean, people don't ever confess on the stand. The most I've seen is somebody just tell me that they blatantly just lied to me on the stand. That's the most I've ever seen. Mm-hmm. Or somebody, you know, there's sometimes when somebody says something funny and you really want to laugh, but I've never seen somebody just, yeah, I did it. And, you know, so it's something about Kings County, New York, that they just have the best, the best laws in the world that they're allowed to break. But I mean, I think that they've gotten better, as we've shifted, I guess, more into the realism and how close people are to cases, you know, since probably, and I guess it kind of began with OJ, but probably in the past 10 years, how Casey Anthony and Trayvon Martin, how all those cases, being involved in those cases and the court TVs, and just how people are just watching it 24/7 now. A lot of different TV shows have to strive to get you hooked, and they have to find a way to keep you, you know, baited into watching that next episode. So a lot of it actually, they've come a long way into getting it pretty similar to what it actually would be. Now, trust me, How to Get Away with Murder is one of my favorite shows, but no first year law student will ever be working on a real case ever in life. So many people hit me up after like the first few episodes and was like, do y'all really get to do that? I said, are you crazy? If that was the case, half my law school class wouldn't have dropped out.
Right.
If it was the case, we would all be criminal attorneys. Right. No, there's no way in hell. But it's fun to watch and it's fun to think, but it doesn't really happen like that. First year law students, are nowhere near law cases at all. You don't want them to be. You don't ever want them to be. I don't care what school they go to. You don't want anybody in the first year law student. It's like a first year medical student. You don't want them cutting you. Right. No, I don't want you putting a needle into my arm. Right. That is not going to happen.
And you said that, you know, that first year you're learning how to rethink. So of course not.
When I tell you some of the cases that we sit there and we were just looking at our professors like, I don't get it. That doesn't make sense. That's not fair. And you will find, and it's funny because you will find that's not fair is actually spoken more in property class just because of basic property, finders, keepers, more than anything else. Right. That's not fair is spoken more in probably your first year of law school than anywhere else. And then you have to get over it after that. So when we watch something on TV and lawyers go, yep, that sounds about right, we already are programmed for it. When we see decisions on TV in real time, when we see legislation being made in real time, because it's 24/7 these days, the reason lawyers get so fired up, or the reason we may acquiesce at certain times, is because we have to think as lawyers and as private people. Mm-hmm. So the lawyer part of me understands where the prosecution messed up, or how the defense made a great argument. But the personal part of me, the black female part of me, is like, oh, hell no.
Right.
So trust and believe, there's a dichotomy that's going on that you have to wrestle with, because you have to shut down a part of yourself especially when you're doing certain types of law. You have to shut down a part of yourself to be able to function, because as you can see with Viola Davis, it's obviously not going to work that well if you let it all in.
Right.
I mean, her and Kerry Washington, they are probably the best representations of it. It's not very good when your personal and professional life just intertwine that much.
Right. Yeah, well, yeah.
And trust me, lawyers don't get paid as much as they actually do. So a lot of their outfits are not things that we would ever be able to afford or wear in court. Just an FYI.
That is, because you do think that lawyers make all this money, especially, and you're not thinking about how much it costs for you guys to go to school and then find a job. Because I thought getting a job straight out of college would be so easy because you had a degree. I have an accounting degree, so I understand what you mean with your, when you went and you consider going to accounting, but you weren't really feeling it. When you think about a lawyer, though, you think that you guys automatically have money. You automatically have a job.
It's the same thing with doctors. Mm-hmm. It's the same thing with doctors. They have to deal with loans, and you have to deal with insurance. I mean, lawyers, just let's see. I don't know about every other state, but DC's fees alone are $3 something for my law license in DC. Maryland doesn't require you to join the bar association. It's one of the few ones that is an optional bar association, but they do have what they call they're technically probably license fees. I would consider them more license fees, but they're renamed more along the lines of, basically we titled a fee, basically covering us if we get into trouble, but it's basically a license fee. But we don't have to join the Maryland bar. And then you have, if you live in a state, there's a county bar for every county. And then there's obviously the African American bar associations for most counties, especially larger counties. So in Maryland, there's, the Baltimore the Black Association for Baltimore. Then there's the one for Prince George's County. There's several different bar associations, and they cost $100-some-odd a year. And so you could easily spend upwards of $1,000 just dealing with licenses and your memberships to different associations. And then you have to deal, if you are a private attorney, you have to deal with your insurance, so that if a client does sue you, which is a definite possibility, or grieve you in some way, then you will be covered. And that can be, depending on how high your insurance is, if you have $250,000 insurance, $300,000 insurance, up to $1 million insurance, it could be anything from $500 a year to $1,200 a year or more, depending on if you've been grieved before, or how long your history is, how long you've been an attorney and practicing. Mm-hmm. So we still have those fees. You don't come out making this large amount of money depending on what type of attorney you are. Mm-hmm. My friends who do work for bigger firms, who do not necessarily, they did more corporate work. Those are the ones who you do see with the big bucks. Those are the ones that you do see making those, hundreds of $1,000s. And then in this economy, those are pretty much the only ones that are still making that much money. 10 years ago, yes, you were seeing my friends who came out of Howard, who were coming out of law school when I was going in. They were, they were the last of their breed, I guess. coming in as first year associates, making 120, making 130, because after that, they basically they either only had one first year associate, or they weren't offering bonuses, or they said no first year associates because of the economy. So lawyers, depending on the type of lawyer you are, it dictates how much money you're going to make. Mm-hmm. So if you work for the state, just like any other state employee, you're really not making that much money comparatively to somebody who is a private attorney who works for a larger firm. Or if you work for yourself, and that's the same thing that that most young adults, millennials, I guess we're Gen Xers, I guess, or are we Gen Yers? I have no idea. I forgot what they called us, but we're in that weird area where we have to kind of figure out, okay, there's no one's hiring us, but I need to work because I've worked this hard to become this attorney, or I've worked this hard to gain this extra knowledge to get this secondary degree. What am I going to do with it? So a lot of people had to go into business for themselves. They had to make moves for themselves. So it's already a saturated area in DC, being a large, it's just like New York, large amount of attorneys, especially because of the government. So we're not lacking for attorneys. So it's really hard to try to create something of your own and maintain it. And at the same time, also trying to get hired by a larger firm, especially if you didn't go to a top 10 law school, because, they're looking at that because they, for some odd reason, think that the better law school you went to, the better attorney you're going to be. And obviously that's not necessarily true.
Right.
Trust me, I've met people that passed the bar that I'm surprised that they're able to tie their shoes. And I have met straight A students who got 4.0s who did not pass the bar their first time, barely passed it their second. Mm-hmm. And I passed the bar the first time, humble brag. My mom's very proud of that. And, I was an okay student. But it was more because of the way law school is great. They don't give a lot of projects. There's really only one test. If you don't do well on that one test, that's pretty much how your grade is going to reflect. I was lucky enough that I had really good professors who saw my potential and they recognized where I needed the help. So I got the help that I needed to show me where I was weak, and it helped me perfect my writing. It helped me better understand how I needed to, instead of going from A to Z, I was supposed to explain A, B, C, D, E, F, G. I had to show my work. So for me, the reason I got certain opportunities was because I went to my professors and said, hey, I may have gotten a B in your class, but do you think you can give me a recommendation? They were, of course, because I know you could have done better if we had an extra test, or if you came to me sooner and told me you were having a problem explaining things. So it's really, it's not always the school you go to. I did internships with University of Michigan students. And it's really funny because my school is very practical. They're very hands-on. They throw you into externships where you're in court and you're involved. And we were at these externships with University of Michigan students, and it was really interesting how they were very scared to talk. They didn't understand what was going on in the courtroom. It was almost like they understood the theory of law, but not how to practically apply it. So you could see a lot of the attorneys had to hold their hands, had to guide them through. And for us, we were just ready to go. We wanted to go up there. We wanted to talk. We wanted to say, hey, we wanted to defend this person or prosecute this person. We were ready to go. Mm-hmm. So it's not always necessarily the law school you went to, but the lawyer that you are. And, sometimes in this society where they do value the Ivy League to a certain extent, sometimes that can pigeonhole you.
Oh, okay. Okay, so let's talk about our community. Now, on average, for every, let's see, how do I say this? How are we? What's our percentage? I'm sure in DC it's a much larger percentage. But as far as Black people being involved in the law, what does that look like?
Well, the only places I've seen such a high percentage of Black attorneys and Black judges has been DC and Detroit. I went to school outside of Detroit, so luckily enough, I was there. Detroit, that county, Oakland County, Wayne County, tons of black judges, black attorneys out the yin yang. So, I mean, they have a black attorney general. I mean, not attorney general. They have a black district attorney. It's, I mean, even with Detroit's problems, it's still, you know, I was surrounded by blackness you know, if I wanted to be. Even outside the counties, even when I wasn't necessarily in the blackest of counties, it still wasn't as bad. And the same goes here, you know, even though if I go an hour outside of DC, of course, it's not going to be as black as it was closer to DC. We're still not as represented. And it's still not as well represented as you would think. I would say comparatively, probably Prince George's County and the district probably have a good number of black judges. Maybe 30%.
Okay. That's better than I thought.
For DC anyway. For Prince George's County, it's probably close to the same as far as district court judges in Prince George's County. And circuit court judges, not really. Circuit court judges, there are not that many black circuit court judges. Now, I will say this. There are a few that I can't really tell their ethnicity just because, and this is coming from someone who's light skinned, I just don't know. And it's not like I'm going to ask a judge if what your ethnicity is.
Okay.
So
please don't.
Yeah. So there's one or two that I don't really know, but I honestly, it could go either way. But they aren't as well represented in circuit court in Prince George's County, but definitely in district court. There are quite a few of them in district court. There are, maybe one or two on the special appeals level, which is basically the Maryland's version of Supreme Court. The chief judge for DC, I think, is black. The chief admin judge, I'm pretty sure, is black. I know there are a few in this area. There are a few more judges of color on our federal courts. I actually grew up with one down the street from me. He's been on there since Bush, I think. So Bush appointed him in 2001, I think. So he's been on there for quite a while. But they're still underrepresented, and don't even get me started on any other nationality because they're even more underrepresented than we are. Asian Americans, Hispanic Americans, they're sorely underrepresented. Trust me, it does not fall. The irony is not lost on me when we're in such a black city such as DC or Baltimore, and you have a black client. Sometimes you can even have a black attorney on the opposing side, and you still have a white judge or a white magistrate. And sometimes you will, even if you have a guardian ad litem or other people who are involved in the case, they're white too. And it's like you have these black people involved in this case, all these black people, and it's the white people who are in the decision-making power. Trust me. And there are a few people I've had to get a little woke on, where I've had to explain to them, I don't think you understand that my client is black, the opposing party is black, you're white, that judge is white. Do you understand what that does to them when you kind of don't speak to them, not necessarily on their level, but in a way that they can understand so they don't feel like they've been talked down to? Because I can speak all the legalese in the world, but my clients don't come back to me or don't want to recommend me if I feel like I'm sedity and too good for them, or I don't know how to speak to them where they can understand it.
Right.
If they don't feel like I have their back to where they understand I came from the same place they did, then I wouldn't be representing them as best as I could. As I wouldn't be as zealous advocate for my client. And trust me, if it's so, you will not believe it when you walk in and it's one black attorney, a black kid, a white prosecutor, and a white judge. And I'm talking about in DC of all places, or in Baltimore. And you have this white judge talking down to these people, and you're just like, do you not understand like what this looks like and what this feels like for this person?
That's interesting. But that happens all the time, all across the country. They have a better shot of it in your state or in your city
True.
than they do in most places. Now I'm in Atlanta, so I imagine in Atlanta it's somewhere close to what.
Atlanta's great with black.
Yeah.
Atlanta's a little bit better, depending on which county you're in Atlanta. They're a little bit better with black judges and black attorneys. So you're right with Atlanta. Atlanta's another great area because I've had tons of friends who moved down to Atlanta to practice law. So,
oh really?
Just depends on the county. Because you got to depending on which county you're in Atlanta,
You
might
got
not
like maybe 4 counties. Okay.
Yeah.
The rest of those counties are no bueno. So
exactly. Trust me, I have white friends in Atlanta who practice in Atlanta, and I'm like, yeah, you don't see the same stuff I see. I have the feeling you don't see the same things I see. It's not lost on you if you're an African American person, because you don't step outside of being black. I don't step outside of being a woman. Just because I'm an attorney, that doesn't change that I'm still Susan Berry. That doesn't take away from me. I'm still a black. You still recognize that I'm a black woman when I walk into a room. That doesn't change anything.
Right.
Or if you don't, sometimes people are shocked by the name, so it might be an other, but I'm not white, basically. So, trust me, I've had that look on people's eyes of recognition where it kind of is like, oh, okay, you're not black. So, trust me. But, I mean, hey, put it like this. In the state of Maryland, we have what we call magistrates who deal with who are in circuit court, but they're not quite judges. They deal with family court issues and sometimes juvenile issues. And up until maybe about 2 years ago, a year and a half, 2 years ago, they were called masters.
Oh my God. What?
And yeah. And it was around, I want to say maybe a little bit after Trayvon, somewhere around Ferguson, they changed the name to magistrate. It was around, you know what it was? It was between Ferguson and the Baltimore, the most recent Baltimore issues that they changed it.
Freddie Gray.
Yep, Freddie Gray. And it says a lot because I was just, I mean, trust me, I knew what it meant to say master so-and-so. And when I say that I love a lot of the magistrates, they're actually really down to earth people. They're really no BS. They will talk to you like anybody else. They wasn't lost on them too. They understood, and they said we're not comfortable with it, especially in excuse my language, black ass PG County. The majority of the people that come in here are not white.
Right.
That I have this black person or this black attorney calling me master so and so. Trust me, I'm not at all comfortable with it. But I have to wait until we get an order from the state changing it to magistrate. And it took till 2015, I think, to do that.
Wow.
So even in this area where you have so many black people, it's not lost on me when I go into that room. It's not lost on me that and the JM level of the DC Superior Court, you see nothing but black girls and boys dealing with juvenile court. You don't see white girls and boys dealing with juvenile court in DC. You see nothing but yet you see a whole bunch of white guardian ad litems who are trying to, sometimes help deal with these black girls and boys who they don't really have anything in common with, who they don't know how to talk to, who they don't know how to really find a common ground with, but they're helping deciding their futures.
At one point in my life, I wanted to be a guardian ad litem, and it just made me feel like I need to do that because who's their voice, right? It's some white guy or white lady. That's their voice.
Well, in
Doesn't
DC, there
understand.
is a large amount of black guardian ad litems. The problem is that because the way the system is in DC, where they can pay you, a lot of bigger firms use their pro bono hours. So they get free guardian ad litems. And a lot of them have never done litigation, or they've never, when I say that I've had 2 guardian ad litems who I don't think they've ever, if they've done litigation, I don't know if they've ever actually appeared in front of a court before, appeared in front of like an actual judge on their own. They didn't really know how to talk to my clients. They didn't know how to explain things to them without, it seems like they were basically talking to them like they were 3-year-olds. And trust me, people get so petty in custody and divorces. People get ugly and mean and scary in custody divorces. So trust me, you're not getting people at their best.
Right.
You're not getting kids. You're not getting parents at their best. But they just didn't get it. And I had to go to them in almost I need to explain something to you. You're talking to them, but they don't know what you're talking about. When you speak to the judge, you have to speak to the judge like you're speaking to them, because you're telling them one thing and then you tell the judge something that they don't understand. So you do realize that you're 2 white women who are around my age deciding or having a say in what happens to a baby that you don't know. Of 2 young black kids who really probably shouldn't have had this child together, have no business being together, whose parents weren't there for them. So they don't even really know how to parent a child. So they need help with it. And you're asking this white male judge to decide who, he doesn't know these children. He doesn't know these parents. He doesn't know this child. Trust me. I said, I don't think you really understand what goes on in there and all that goes into when you walk into that courtroom and you realize that the only black people in there are the litigants, and everyone else is white, and you're telling them what they're going to do, and they've come to you to help them figure something out because they can't do it on their own.
Right.
And don't get me wrong, the judges, every single time they tell you, I don't know you and I don't know your child, and you're asking me to solve your problem. So I want you to understand that I don't know you, I don't know your child. So if you're asking a stranger to solve your issues. So, they tell you that off the top. I can only do but so much.
Right.
Like, so I can only go off of what I see. But at the same time, and it's not lost on the judges either. It's just that I think a lot of them are numb to it because they've had to put 12-year-old boys in jail. They've had to deal with 9-year-old predators. And majority of these people that walk into their courtroom are black.
Yeah.
It's just that in DC and in Maryland, we have the luxury that a good chunk of the attorneys at least in Southern Maryland and in DC happen to be black. That's the only thing that helps, I think, keep the balance just a little bit. It can always be better.
Okay. So what is the percentage of black women attorneys, do you think, in your area?
You mean out of female attorneys or
Right.
out of black attorneys?
Black attorneys.
It's probably close. It's probably about 60-40 men, but that's only because it's a little bit hard and it's a little bit tough, and I by no means don't think that a woman can't handle this, because trust me, a woman can. It's just that dealing with the everyday BS of it sometimes isn't worth it. I would say that I've seen a lot more women handle family law matters than men. But I would say for the longer careers, there are probably a little bit more men in private practice, but I think that's just because of women and what we require in our lifetimes as far as when, when we do get married or when we do have children, and what it requires of us.
Right.
And us maybe not being able to be the women that we want to be and the mothers that we want to be, and sometimes the career person we want to be. And men have that luxury.
Got it.
So I think that is usually when I see more women coming in with the longer careers, it's usually they took a break and now they're back. Or they waited a while to have children and get married. So it's not the same rate as most men's careers are. Their trajectories obviously are a little bit different. But I mean, I haven't had the pleasure of coming up against a lot of women. I've come up against definitely Black women, of course, in this area. I don't think I've gone against a white woman in a family law matter. I haven't come up against a white woman in a family law matter in this area. I've had in a few civil matters, but not in a family law matter. But yeah, for mostly the family law stuff, it's mostly African American men, women, and white men and women. But there's probably more white men, and they usually tend to be older too.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it's not easy being a female attorney. Trust me, if my friends can only tell you, it's the same thing. Like it's almost parallel to what you see with the Hillary stuff.
Oh, okay.
When I kid you not, it's very hard when you go up to someone and you talk to them and you say, "Hi, I'm Susan Berry. I'm representing so and so," and then an older gentleman is pointing in your face saying, "He doesn't talk to you. He talks at you. You're doing this and your client's doing that." And I literally have my hand out like, "Hi, I'm Susan Berry. I have not done anything to affront you. We might not even have spoken yet, face to face."
Right.
Like, I don't even know, this might be my first time laying eyes on you.
Now, is that the way that men approach litigation though? Like almost like
it's not exclusive. It's not, I'm so serious.
Oh,
It's
okay.
only older gentlemen. Yes. The older white gentlemen, yes. They've come to me. They tend to be that way, yes. Mm-hmm. I've only had a few older white gentlemen to where it's been like, "Hey, let's get this done." They're cool. They just want to get their client in and out because they know usually, and that's typically when I have a better case than their client, so they're not going to argue with me about it.
Okay.
When we have about a pretty good case, it could go either way. Yeah, they come very, very aggressive. Black men, again, I've had Black men where it's, "Hey, how you doing? Let's get this done." Or, I've had Black men that have been very, not rude, but have been very hostile. I'm dealing with one right now when I tell you he is literally the poster child for assholes.
Oh wow.
And I have no clue what I have done to piss off this man, but exist. I have been nice to him. I have not, I've literally been like, "Please don't condescend me. Like, the way you're acting is not correct. I don't understand why you're coming at me." It's to the point where my client, who happens to be the father in the situation, his client is the mother. My client actually feels protective of me when I'm talking to this man because dude has been so aggressive to me just talking. My client is sitting up there like, "You don't have to speak to her like that."
Wow.
And when you get into those situations, it makes me look bad to a certain extent because it makes my client think that I'm not being aggressive. Mm-hmm. To where, first of all, I don't do aggression outside of the courtroom because I'm saving all of my energy for when I walk through those doors and I actually have to deal with the trier of fact, which is the judge or the jury. I'm not going to let you get under my skin beforehand.
Right.
Because I don't have the time for it. But I mean, when I say that there's just certain people, I'm talking about and I've asked clerks, I've asked female clerks, male clerks, does he act this way? And the female clerks is like, "I've seen him talk like that to all the other female attorneys. He doesn't talk like that to us, but I've seen him act like that to other female attorneys." And I'm just like, damn, what is wrong with this guy?
Yeah.
And when I say I literally have no idea what I've done to this dude, I have no idea, but exist.
But that's it, though.
That's it.
That's it. That's how some
And,
men are.
and with Black women, it's a hit or miss. Sometimes I've had very good interactions to where we could be going at it in the courtroom, and in the second we get out, ooh, girl, I love your shoes. Ooh, girl, I like this. Oh, can you do me this? It's fine. We leave it all on the dance floor. We come after we get off. We're fine. We understand that we're not taking on our clients' issues, and we can walk away from it, and we understand it. I've dealt with other Black women where it's been a contest, where it's been a very unfortunate experience to where I'm like, I really don't need to be aggressive with you. We don't need to show, who has the bigger tits, I guess, in this contest, because, we shouldn't be trying to outdo each other. We should just be representing our clients and moving forward.
Right. Yeah,
So,
I can totally see that. Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. I just try to come into every interaction just hoping we can reach a resolution, because if we can reach a resolution ourselves, that's better than going to a judge because we don't know what they're going to say. And it just depends on the type of person you have on the other side of the aisle. And sometimes sometimes the person understands that, and sometimes they just want to be an asshole for asshole's sakes. Mm-hmm. It's just really upsetting when it's another woman of color and they're, dislike you for some unknown reason, or they're really being an asshole to you for some unknown reason. Or when it's a male, Black male attorney who just literally has it out for you and you have no idea why.
Yeah. Yeah, I imagine it's really tough being a Black female attorney. Let me ask you this. So, the Black community, when it comes to attorneys, how do you see that we see them? Do we see them as people that we trust? Or do we see them as someone that we are distrustful of?
I would say that it's funny. I think that most people see Black female attorneys as Claire Huxtable, or more recently Michelle Obama, in a way. I mean, they see, sister's doing it for herself, which is great. Like, I don't see, when I'm talking to someone who's not an attorney, or when I'm talking to other attorneys and we're not in court, we're just chilling. It's very much, hey, how you doing? Oh, wow, that's great. It's like, that's great. You're a Black attorney. Go on, girl. It's really uplifting to see that. And it's really nice to know that. But I think that it's a little bit scary sometimes, because it can be a lot to live up to, because it's like every attorney is not the same attorney. Every person isn't the same person. So it can feel like it's a lot sometimes, but it does feel good when someone says good job, just because you did something that, Black people can be proud of. I think that there still is trust for attorneys, especially if you show them that you can be trustworthy. My mom always taught me the golden rule. It's just I just operate that way. I treat others the way I want to be treated, or at least I try to. Mm-hmm. I really honestly do try to. And that's the best I can do, is just try to honestly treat people the way I want to be treated, treat them with respect, treat them with kindness. And that's how I go into work. I'm probably a lot nicer at work than I am probably in real life. More probably because people are paying me to. But I think that I'm honest with people. I try to manage expectations, because, someone comes in and says, I want to sue for $1 million. You want to say, okay, yeah, we can sue for $1 million. You might only get 100. So, okay. You want to be realistic with people. You don't want to promise them the world, because I can't promise you the world, because I can't I can't guarantee anything.
Right.
I can't guarantee you anything. So I'm not going to promise you anything. I'm not going to take your money and run because I have a conscience. So it's not going to sit well with me. I'll try to help you if I can, and I'll try to leave you in a better position than when I got you. Because if I can't help you, then if I'm leaving you in a worse position than when I got you, I didn't help you at all, and it makes me feel like I didn't do anything good with myself. It makes me feel like I didn't assist you in any way. So for me, I just try to be as honest as possible with people. I try to manage their expectations, and I try to communicate with them. I literally try to just do the best I can do, just because that's how I want people to do the best with me. I want people to treat me that way. I always say, nowadays, especially nowadays, my new mantra, or I guess my new motto is: there is nothing in life that can't be solved with communication and a condom. 2 C's.
Communication and what?
Communications and a condom.
That's what I thought you said. Well,
Tell me one problem in life that can't be solved with communications and a condom. I promise you, there is nothing in life that cannot be solved with communication and a condom.
Oh man, I love talking to black women. I was not ready for that. You threw me a curveball with that.
As soon as I find another C, I'm in there. So if anybody wants to give me a heads up with another C, I'm at SueB722 on Twitter and Instagram. If y'all want to give me another C, I need another C. We can make it to 3 C's, 4 C's, 5 C's. It's only 2.
That is absolutely true. You're absolutely right.
I tell them, and dealing with family law, people laugh, but I'm like, when has communication and or a condom not been the answer to any problem?
I
can talk it out. I can talk with you about it. We can talk it out. We can try to reach. If we can't reach an agreement, we can at least respectfully understand where the next person is coming from.
Right. So
we can at least walk away with a better idea of who that person was than when they got there.
Right.
And if not, I won't get a disease and I won't have a baby.
I know that's right. Well. But you still get to have the fun, though.
Yes.
Yeah. I love that. I'll be writing that down somewhere. Yeah.
I'm just saying, it's trust me, people don't understand that can honestly, those are the 2 things you need in life. And that's only after 6 years of legal work. I figured it took me 6 years to figure that out. So I was well into my 30s. I said, there seems to be a common trend with all my clients. They don't know how to talk to one another, and they got a lot of kids. So maybe if they talked to one another a little bit better, respected one another a little bit better, tried to find some common ground, or at least find a way to work with one another, maybe we could find a way to raise this child. We could find a way to leave this relationship or leave this issue with a better understanding.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You're exactly right. So what would you say to somebody who is considering becoming an attorney, especially in the climate that we live in today? What would you
outside of don't?
Outside of don't, really? Okay.
Law school debt. If you honestly can't afford to go to law school, I would probably say you might want to wait until you can, unless you get a scholarship or something to where you can really afford to go to law school. Because again, debt is a serious. Sallie Mae ain't no joke.
No, she is not.
We are actively plotting to take this chick down.
Mm-hmm.
So Sallie Mae is no joke. We cannot. We have way too much of her and not enough of us really being able to live our life. We're chained to debt. So I would honestly say if it's something, if you really want to become a lawyer, go for it. But if it's something you're on the fence about, I would really honestly take a step back and really think about it. I took 3 years to think about it. So I know that this was my decision. This is something that I actually do want to become an attorney. I have tons of friends who went to law school right out of undergrad and they're no longer attorneys. whether they took the bar or not. They're not practicing attorneys anymore. And I'm just trying to figure out what was the point of that education. And you're still paying for that debt.
Oh yeah.
So as far as I'm concerned, I'm gonna use my degree until I no longer have debt. But I would say that that's first off. If you can't afford to go to law school, and if you can't get a scholarship, I would really consider if this is the route you want to take, because that's an instant $100,000 if you don't have any help. And then I would think that my next advice would be, think about what you want to do with your degree. Do you want to help people? Because just saying I want to make money isn't going to work anymore. That's not going to be the answer anymore, because being a lawyer doesn't guarantee you're going to make money.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's something that we all thought it meant, but we were all very wrong about that. So I would say that's first off. Decide, what do you want to do with your law degree? Do you want to be a lobbyist? Do you want to affect legislation? Do you want to do grassroots organization? There are tons of different things you can do by knowing the law. So it's not just being a lawyer. You can do tons of different things. So I would say start off with that. So know what you want to do with your degree and how you want to use it. And then I would say that the last thing you need is a respect and appreciation for the law and the Constitution of the United States. It's not perfect by any means, but it's the one that we have. And comparatively to other countries, it's a lot better
It is.
than a lot of other countries. And we may joke and we may laugh at, but trust me, our laws are comparatively better than a lot of other countries. And I will have to say that there are times where I love being a lawyer a lot more than I love the law. But when it comes down to it, I do have a respect for the law. And I do have admiration for the ones that for the laws that we do have. And that's something that I do have respect for, I do have admiration for, and I've chosen to uphold. And if I can affect any change in that, that's great. I hope so. But if you don't think that you can respect the laws that we have, or you don't want to affect any change, or you don't see the point in assisting in furthering our laws, or assisting in changing our laws, or working within our laws, then I wouldn't bother going to law school, because you're just going to be frustrated the entire time. You're just going to be burnt out and upset and pissed off and sad. And it's really not worth it.
So then I would ask you, if you're saying only be a lawyer if you really want to be a lawyer, if it's something that is in your soul, what would you recommend people do if they want to get involved in the law, but they don't want to be an attorney, or they don't want to spend that type of money? Would there be areas that you would recommend that they would go into?
Well, like I said, you could always be a paralegal.
Mm-hmm.
That is something that is, and it's not the type of paralegal. Remember, we used to see those midnight TV commercials where you get your certificate? Yep. No. If you honestly want to be a paralegal, get your degree, and there are tons of different credible paralegal there are schools where you can become a paralegal, you can get an actual job with a firm, and it can be a very good firm, and you can do different things within that firm. Then, if not, if you want to work within different organizations to affect change, you can as well. If you want to work for the ACLU, Planned Parenthood, there are different lobbyists. Different lobbyist organizations. A friend of mine is working for the separation of church and state. I have a friend that works for the LGBTQ. Did I get that right?
LGBTQ?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Sorry, I got the letters mixed up. That was an honest mistake. The Trans Alliance, he works for that organization. He's not an attorney, but he organizes different things with them. So there are tons of different ways to be involved with affecting change in government and legislation without having to do it. You can graduate from undergrad and be a intern in the Hill and learn how slow democracy works.
Yeah.
And get in on that, because trust me, that's how a lot of our lawmakers are found. That's how you make moves, and that's how you gain friends, and that's how you slow but quietly affect change, is when you start making friends of other attorneys who are now lawmakers. They have an effect on it as well. So if you're a Black woman who wants to intern for other Black or non-Black congressmen, by all means, apply after undergrad. Apply now. There are tons of them. The ACLU is always looking for interns, whether you're law school or not law school. There are plenty of organizations that are always looking for people who they need to help organize or to help reach other people. Mm-hmm. So if that's a way you want to get involved, and you don't necessarily need to go to law school to do that, there are plenty of people who work with lobbyist groups or work with different organizations that have never stepped foot inside a law school and know as much law, if not more, about different types of legislation than I do.
Okay. Thank you. I appreciate that. This conversation has been really good. Now, before we end this call, I do have to ask you, what is your Black woman shout out for today?
My Black woman shout out is Tracy Walker Jackson, or I guess her author name is Tracy D.W. Jackson. She's been a friend of mine since we were in Michigan State, which I'm not going to date myself of how long ago that was. But she wrote a book called So This Actually Happened, Tales from a Retired Teacher. And she's semi-retired. She's in her 30s, and she is a wonderful teacher, but she was also in the Atlanta schools. She's in the Atlanta school system. And she wrote a book about her experiences within the Atlanta school system and how she had to deal with teachers and students and parents and the administration. And it's a quick read, and it's a fun read. I helped her proof the book, and it's an amazing book. She still teaches. Right now, she's teaching in Dubai, which is such a great experience. And I love seeing how the different ways she gets to interact with so many different people now. So it's a little bit more of a rewarding experience, but it's called So This Actually Happens. It's on sale through Amazon. You can get it as an ebook, or you can get it as a actual paperback book for, I think, $9.99. And she's a wonderful person, and she's a wonderful writer. And I think everyone will enjoy it. And trust me, the stories are just hilarious, because you will sit there and say, wow, okay, so that really did happen.
Yeah, I looked it up. It is $6.99 Kindle and $9.99 paperback.
Yes. Mm-hmm. So it's a very good book. It's written by a Black woman, not just for Black women, but for Black people, for teachers, for anybody who wants to know how hard it is just to be a teacher in our schools and understand what they go through. So she did a really great job. And, she was just trying to, all she ever wanted to do in life was teach. And it's just funny how that can just break you or attempt to break you, because it didn't break her, but it just almost makes you want to question why you even do it. Because you want to, these are children. These are the next generation, and we're supposed to be guiding them. And we don't get enough money we don't get enough supplies. Their parents aren't paying enough attention. The administration's not paying enough attention. Right. So she's just talking about how maybe if you knew about a little bit more, maybe if you're a parent and you're paying a little bit more attention, or maybe if you're another teacher and you can commiserate with her about all these things that happen. It's a really good read, and I hope everyone goes out and checks it out, because she did a really great job on describing how her experience was for the past 10 years as a teacher in Atlanta schools.
Okay, well, thank you for recommending that. I will definitely get that myself, especially here in Atlanta. I can imagine the kind of things she went through.
There was a few things where I'm like, I remember her telling me the story, and she actually wrote it. I was like, you're not going to tell people that, are you? And she says, yes, I am. And I said, oh, okay. Because trust me, there are a few stories. I have a few stories where I was like this, oh my God, this one guy this one woman said the N word in court.
Oh
Loud as she
God.
said. And I looked at her, and trust me, I want to say it now, but I don't know if that would necessarily be proper.
Oh, for you? I was about to say it's fine for this podcast, but for
Oh, okay.
you, fine.
He said he wanted some, I can't remember, my client was the husband, and he yelled, and he said he wanted like half of what they were making, which was well within his right. And she yelled, "Nigga, please," in court. And I looked at him, and I said, "Do not look at me. I will laugh. I will laugh. I do not want to bust." I couldn't look at the judge because he was a white guy, and I do not want to bust out laughing. So trust me, she has a few of those things that happen as well, where you're just like, this did not honestly happen. And you just read about things that you never thought actually happened in schools, and they do. I mean, I've had relatives who are teachers, and they've gone through some of the same things, and I didn't realize that this is what people go through. And these are teachers. These are people who we should be praising.
Mm-hmm.
You know, these are the people who should be making hundreds of $1,000s
Yeah,
every year.
you're right. And they don't.
And they don't. And like I said, right now she's teaching in Dubai. And I have had other friends who are teachers who have gone over to the UAE who are teaching there now, and they love the experience. They love being in a different country, especially these days, because when I tell her some of the things that are happening right now, she's just like, yeah, don't really miss America right now, just because I don't have to wake up every day and hear the stupid crap that Trump says. So it's just that peace of mind alone is just great.
Yeah, right. Well, thank you so much for joining me today, Susan. I so appreciate it. Did you have anything else you wanted to tell us?
No, just hi everybody. I'm glad you listened.
I am too.
Social media. If you were at the NegroCon, I was the one with the "Don't let your president get your ass whipped" T-shirt. That was me. But again, I'm Subi722 on Twitter and on Instagram. If you have any questions or if you want to reach out, questions, comments, curious about any areas of the law, people reach out to me all the time. Plenty of other podcasters have reached out to me with random questions.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate you doing that for us.
No problem.
Yeah,
Always glad to help. You guys are like fam now.
yeah, we really do appreciate you at MTR. You've been a huge part of our success, and we can't tell you thank you enough. Really.
Oh, well, thank you.
Well, thanks for coming on my show. You have a great day, okay?
You do the same, ma'am. I'm going to go watch me some Game of Thrones.
I know that's right. Bye.
Bye.
Hey, guys. So I wanted to kind of rant about something that happened to me earlier today. It's a little weird, kind of out of the blue, but it's just an example of the kind of bullshit that Black women go through. So I'm in the middle of a move, a divorce. I'm kind of a hot mess right now, and I was getting some furniture, and there was a guy that was helping me get the furniture out, and I was kind of in a rush because I was running behind for a recording that I had to do for the podcast. And I mentioned to him, I normally don't, but I mentioned to him that I had to record for my podcast today. I was in a bit of a rush. And he was like, "Oh, you have a podcast?" I said, "Yeah, I have a podcast." And he said, "By yourself?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "What is it about?" And I said, "Black women." And he paused. And he said, "So, what, do you guys male bash?" And I paused. I was speechless for a second, like, huh? Like, where'd that even come from? It's not even, huh? In the times that you spoke to me, have I even, like, where's that coming from? So I sat for a second, and I was like, what? And he's like, it's just a question. And I'm like, well, it's a stupid question. Look, contrary to motherfucking popular belief, when Black women get together, we don't talk about y'all. We talk about us, our lives, the things that are important to us, the things that mean something to us. We talk about life and politics and hair and our bodies and our health and our children. But it ain't about you. And on top of that, how insulting is it that you think all you see is a black woman with a podcast, and the first thing you think I do is male bash? Are you for real? Like, are you serious? Fuck no, we don't male bash. I don't male bash on my show. If you do something stupid, I'ma say it. But I don't spend my time male bashing. Ain't nobody got time for that. And it really says more about you as a man to think the first thing on your mind is to think that this podcast, that any podcast with the black woman, is bashing men. That says 100% more about you than me. And it's very disappointing. And black men, do better. Shit. Just do better. All right, guys, welcome back. I'm here with one of our black female entrepreneurs for our Black Woman Shout Out, one of our Black Woman Shout Out segments. And today I'm interviewing Val Rich. She is an intuitive tarot reader, and I'm going to have her explain all that to us. Val, thanks so much for joining me today.
You're very welcome. Thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited to be here today, talking to you.
All right, it's my pleasure. So, Val, let's start off with you telling me a little bit about yourself.
Absolutely. I am, my name is Val Rich. I am a 30-something intuitive tarot reader. I'm clairaudient, clairvoyant, clairsentient, which basically means that I receive information or messages from what people would call spirit, or I also use the word ancestors kind of interchangeably.
Mm-hmm.
So the clairaudient, clairsentient, clairvoyant means that I get information from ancestors or spirit. I can feel information. I can smell it, like just quickly. For instance, I had a client I was doing a reading for the other day, and ancestors, I smelled, hot, fresh croissant.
Oh, wow.
And and I'm like, okay, ancestors, really? Croissant? Like, okay, why? But they sent me that smell so that I could advise my client where they would be meeting someone who they may, be interested in or have some type of, like romantic relationship in the past. It was, or not in the past, at that point, it would be like a cake shop or a bread shop or something like that. But the ancestors, I smelled hot, fresh croissant because ancestors were trying to signal to me that that was one of my clients' favorite things to eat, which it was. And that is where she would, under that aroma is where she would meet someone who she would be romantically interested in. So that's kind of what that means. When people say, clairaudient, clairvoyant, clairsentient, means they can feel information comes to them, by way of sound, by way of feelings, and intuitively. So that's what that means.
Okay. So you call yourself an intuitive tarot reader. What does that mean exactly?
Sure. My modality or my tool of divination is tarot cards. So I can read a person's energy and, tap into their energy that way to answer a question for them, for a situation that may be placed out in the future. But I use tarot cards to get that information. I also can, read a person's energy and get information based on something that's going on right now. But what happens is my job is to lay everything down on the table for my particular client. So that's my job as an intuitive tarot reader. It is my job to find things that are going on with a situation that you would not ordinarily know, that could possibly trip you up or trap you or harm you, things such as that. So when I say I'm an intuitive tarot reader, I do, read tarot cards. So based on the question that the client asks me, I shuffle up the cards, lay down the cards, and the cards, as well as my intuition, lead me to the answer to their question.
Okay. And so how long have you been in business?
I have been in business, and this is actually kind of, kind of crazy. I have been in business since the Pisces solar eclipse. If any of you astrology heads out there remember when the Pisces solar eclipse happened, it happened in like March of last year. That is when my full intuitive capabilities came to fruition. And so since that Pisces solar eclipse, I've been in business ever since. So March of 2016. But I've had the foundations of my gift since I was like 3 or 4.
Okay. And so you started it on the Pisces solar eclipse. Why?
Mm-hmm.
Why did you start it then?
And I will tell you a quick story. Honestly, this has been something that is my destiny, so to speak. It is something that I'm supposed to be doing. But if I were to tell you that I've been running from this for a long, long, long time, that would be 100% the truth. In 2014, late 2014 and in 2015, I got a couple of readings myself. Now, this is when I was not an intuitive. Like, I had the foundation of my gift, but I could not read tarot cards. I got some readings, and one particular young lady told me that I was going to be ushered into a portal of energy in March. Now, she didn't say what year, but she definitely did say March. Well, like I said, this was in 2014 that I talked to her. So March of 2015 came around, nothing happened. So I figured, oh, okay, well, maybe she was mistaken. March of 2016 came around, and that's when it happened. So again, I've had the foundation of the gift since I was like 3 or 4, but the energy, as far as me being an intuitive, it fully manifested itself, or my ability rather, fully manifested itself in March of 2016. So it was not something that I necessarily chose. I've had the foundations of it, but it is something that, did fully manifest in my life. And it was told to me some 2 years before it actually happened. But I just, she didn't tell me what year, so I just figured, oh, well, she, maybe she didn't know what she was talking about. But it did actually happen. It just didn't happen that very next year. It happened the year after that. So.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so tell me a little bit about your platform.
Absolutely. So the platform that I work off of is a first law of nature platform. And my platform is the majority of the work that I do is for Black women. 99, I would say, % of my clientele is Black. And out of that 99%, 99.5% of all of my clients are Black women. I do have some clients who are Black men, but they don't really flock to my gift as much as Black women do. And so the majority of my clientele is, of course, they're Black and they're Black women. But in
why
my
do you
first
think
law of
that
nature,
is? Why do you think that is?
I have a couple of theories.
Okay.
The first thing, I honestly believe that black women, I mean, because, and it is true because it's the way that I position my services. My services, honestly speaking, like real talk, are for people who are strategic in nature.
Mm-hmm.
They're for people who are not interested in dawdling around life,
Mm-hmm.
letting things happen to them, stumbling, bumbling, falling into pit holes, you know, getting slapped over the head, getting punched in the face, just out of the blue. My services are for people who want to avoid those types of things.
Okay.
And because it is a service that provides in many ways and can provide in many ways a strategic advantage. And so I tell, people who are kind of like on the fence about, getting services with me, why run around life not being able to figure out, how this is going to play out for you? Or why, run around life wasting time with relationships that your intuition may tell you or may have told you in the very beginning of this relationship, hey, you're probably going to be wasting your time with this person, but you still go along with it anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And then 3 years later, 4 years later, 5 years later, no commitment. Now everything is over, and now we're mad and upset at the other person. We want to cry, we want to scream, we want to slash people's tires and do all of that. So the reason that I personally believe that there are more black women that take advantage of my services than black men is because, for whatever reason, black women are thinking very strategically right now. And that is absolutely not a bad thing. They do not want to waste years and years, and they do not want to waste lifetimes trying to figure out how things are going to go. They're not trying to figure out how long it's going to take for them to get that promotion, and they're going through and doing everything they're being told that they have to do. And 3 years later, only to be passed over for someone else. A lot of women, and specifically black women, aren't willing to do those things anymore. They want to kind of, have a full picture of where their life is going. They're wanting to know how to nurture their talents. The biggest thing that I do as part of my business is course correction as far as relationships and life decisions and self-esteem building, believe it or not. That is the bulk of the work that I do. The number one question that clients ask me, as I'm sure you can imagine, is, Val, where's my man at? When am I going to find that guy? When am I going to find that perfect guy? When am I going to find my soulmate? So, a lot of my clients are worried about love and relationships because they want healthy love and healthy relationships, but they are also very strategic, and they want to know, hey, if I start this business, is it going to work out for me? Or, hey, if I make this move over here as far as purchasing this rental property, is this going to work out for me? And I can see all of that information.
Okay.
There's only one thing that I can't tell a client
Mm-hmm.
if they have a reading with me, and that is when someone who is currently living on this plane is going to pass away. Ancestors will refuse all requests for that information. That's just the way it is. But anything else is kind of fair game. So the first law of nature platform really focuses on, and specifically, with black women, which is the largest part of my client base, is focusing on ourselves and focusing on taking care of ourselves so that we can then, as we so choose, take care of other people. But we're not going to be anyone's mule. We're not going to be anyone's mammy. We're not going to be anyone's, punching bag. That all of those things completely go against the first law of nature platform that I base my entire business on. And that is, the black woman, take care of yourself first. When you take care of yourself, then you can spread out and take care of other people. But until you take care of your needs first, you can't take care of anyone else. And so that's what I mean when I say first law of nature platform.
Okay. So I got some questions based on what you've said.
Sure.
So what is it that you specifically offer? I know you said that you do course correction. So if I came to you and I said, I'm trying to figure out where I want to go as far as my career goes, this is something that I will come to you for?
Absolutely. Let me just run down for you quickly some of the readings that I offer. So, the one of the first type of reading that I offer is a 4 card reading. It's called the Year Ahead. Um, and what this reading does is it will show you what successes and challenges, specifically the year 2017, because that's the year that we're in right now, has in store for you. So you would pick one of 5 themes, either general, love life, finances, career, or business or entrepreneurial ventures. And what I would do is once you pick the theme, I shuffle the cards, lay down 4 cards, and I speak to whatever theme that you wanted to work with. I do offer a general reading for $40, which is a 6 card drawing, and it just talks about the client's strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. So, but it is general. So, there in these 3 readings, this reading and these next 2 readings that I'm about to talk about, these are readings that do not have questions attached to them. Meaning, they're like general readings. You can't ask me a specific question. And so the general reading is there. And then I also have a relationship reading where this reading is for yourself and your partner. Your partner does not have to be on the phone. But if we would basically, the type of spread that I do is called a relationship spread, where there are cards on the right, which those are the querents cards, or the person who I'm on the phone with. Those are their cards. The cards on the left are the partner's cards, and the card in the middle, or cards in the middle, signify where the relationship is going to go. So it just, on the cards on the right, talk a little bit about, things that the querent or the person who I'm on the phone with may want to discuss, or just some things that describe them. And on the other side, it's the exact same, but the card or cards in the middle talks about, okay, this is this person on the right, this is this person on the left. How is this relationship going to work out?
Mm-hmm.
I also do offer a business reading, where if you already have a business, I will read your business and tell you what the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats of the business are. Above and beyond that, I do offer a 15-minute reading, which is 1 question, a 30-minute reading, which you can ask me 2 questions, and finally, I do offer a 60-minute reading, which you can ask me anywhere from 3 to 4 questions, depending upon time. But, how much ever we can get in the course of the 60 minutes is what it is. And so when I say course correction, you can, like I said, you can ask me, in general, what do ancestors feel like I need to improve upon? And I will do a general reading, and ancestors will, give me that information, and it will come by way of the cards. And so I'll just, talk to you about a couple things that you need to, a couple of things that you need to improve upon. Surprisingly, one of the number one things that I get all the time when people ask me, okay, Val, can you tell me what is it that I need to improve upon? The number one thing that I get when I'm doing readings and people ask that question is the 4 of Swords card. The 4 of Swords card in tarot, you can actually go Google the picture so you can see what I'm talking about. But the 4 of Swords card is a man in like a building, but it has like stained glass windows, and he's laying on this bed, and he has his arms, crossed over his chest. It's very clear that he's resting, but there are 4 swords there. So what that card means is that the person that I'm talking to or the querent needs to get more sleep. That is the number one thing that I see when clients ask me, okay, Val, so, I'd like to know where are some things that I need to improve upon. The number one thing is get more sleep, which is extremely interesting, but I get it all the time because it's just, something that, people aren't doing. And I'm able to pick up on the very smallest of things. So.
Okay. That's interesting. So you've been doing this for what, a little over a year, right?
Mm-hmm.
Officially, a little over a
Yes.
year. And so tell me about one of your successes.
Um, I would say one of my successes is I was featured nationally on a couple of different blogs.
Mm-hmm.
Um, one of the blogs that I was featured on is one of my very, very good friends, Negra with Tumbao, and she has a lifestyle blog. She is an Afro-Cubana, so she is Cuban, but she's of African descent.
Mm-hmm.
And so she talks about, the things that, Afro Latinos and Afro Latinas have to, go through, have to deal with. Um, but she also, talks about different products and things like that. So I was featured on her blog. I was also featured on verysmartbrothers.com
Oh, wow.
last year.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was fun. And I would say one of the other ones, there was another blog that I was featured on. Negra with Tumbao. She had a post that went viral last year, and it was I ended up being inadvertently featured in that particular blog post where she went viral. And so with that, I was featured on, what is it called? It's like I think it's Media Takeout.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was featured on Media Takeout. So it was kind of interesting to be featured on those blogs, but of course, fun nevertheless. And a couple more people than before were able to be exposed to my services and what I have to offer. So I was excited. It was a lot of fun.
Okay. And so where do you see yourself in the future? Where do you want to take your business?
Oh my goodness.
Loaded question, I know, but
It definitely is. I see myself doing so many things.
okay.
But as far as the business is concerned, I want to go to Essence next year
Okay.
and speak, as introducing my business, but also as far as like a motivational speaker type situation. Because I honestly do, I feel like I'm one of the best people in the world to speak directly to Black women's issues. Number one, because I'm a Black woman, but also number two, because Black women are my clients, and they I'm privy to some of their innermost secrets. And so I kind of get a bird's eye view of where they can improve
Okay.
on a small scale and on a large scale, like individually and collectively, because these are the women that I work with these women.
Mm-hmm.
And self-esteem building is, like I said, one of the cornerstones of my business,
Mm-hmm.
and it's not easy. Um, to help rebuild someone's self-esteem, and fighting against stereotypes about Black women, and having to convince the client that stereotype that they are soaking in is not healthy for them and is damaging to them. It tends to be very labor intensive. um, but as far as where else I see myself besides like Essence, um, I do want to do a lot more speaking engagements. and help people to understand how the type of work that I do is very important. There was one thing that I wanted to add. Even though, like I said earlier, 99% of my clientele is Black and 99.5% of it is woman, I personally feel, and this is from experience, again, because I, talk to these people, Black people are the ones who need my service the most. And I will say that unequivocally. But what I will also say is that Black people are the ones who resist taking advantage of my service the most. And that's deep. That's real deep. But that's the truth.
Okay, and why is that?
The reason that is, from my standpoint, based on my experience, what I've seen, type of people that I've talked to, the reason is because of, social conditioning.
Mm-hmm.
It also has to do with, Judeo-Christian belief systems
Mm-hmm.
that may have served us as a people in, when we came to these shores of the United States, but they don't necessarily serve us anymore. But once again, religious indoctrination is very hard to shake. It doesn't just fall off, just like that. It takes a little bit of work. So that's why I say that. I have, clients who are devout Christians. I have clients who are atheists and agnostic. I have clients who are Baptists. I have clients who are from the Middle East. I have clients, international clients, clients who are from England, from Africa. I think I've had a client that I worked with out of Germany. But yeah, Black people definitely, are the ones who need my services the most. But due to, like I said, religious indoctrination or, the Judeo-Christian faith preaching against that, they feel wary about participating. I've had people who have said, I really, really want to get a reading with you, Val, but I'm afraid that if I do, I'll go to hell. I'm like, wow, really?
That's a jump.
Yeah,
That's a bit of a jump.
Yeah, that's very, very deep. And I actually have to probe those people and ask them, why do you feel that way? And they're like, oh, just because of what I've read in the Bible, and because we're Christian, and yeah, Val, come on, you understand. I can't do it. I feel like, I'm scared, like something's gonna happen to me. And I have to assure my clients that no, they will not go to hell. And
well, I think that to be honest, right, you're coming from a different perspective, right?
mm-hmm.
Because aren't you a fourth generation spiritualist?
Absolutely.
So that means that that's been in your family for years and years.
Right. Absolutely. And that is one of the reasons why, I am very sensitive to the way that people feel. Even if I may think it's ludicrous, I'm very, very sensitive to the way that people feel because I understand. But I do have to let my clients know exactly what you just said. I'm a fourth generation. My mother had this gift. My grandmother had this gift. My great-grandmother had this gift. Now, they did not have this gift on the same level that I have it on because, of course, I use tarot cards. I had never held a deck of tarot cards until I was 36 years old, right? So, or 35 rather. Never held a deck of tarot cards till I was 35. But this gift has been in my family for generations and generations, And, you know, there have been supernatural experiences that have happened to my mother, but she never really pursued it like that because my mother's side of the family, they are AME Zion. And you just, you know, from the mountains of North Carolina, and you just don't mess with that. That's just, you just don't, quote unquote, you don't mess with that type of stuff, right? Everybody on my father's side is Baptist, is Black Baptist. So I am the only, you know, full psychic on both sides of my family. But I come from the AME Zion tradition. I come from the Black Methodist tradition. So I completely understand what we were taught, right? I get it. But I'm here to tell you that it's not what you think it is. One of the funniest and best testimonials that I've ever gotten from one of my clients is from the client who is a very, very devout Christian. And she basically said, you know, I am a devout Christian. I am never in fear that, you know, I'm going to go to hell if I speak with Val. What she stated in her testimonial, which was really very touching, she said, I really appreciate, you know, as a devout Christian, I really appreciate Val's insight. Number one. Number two, I appreciate the fact that she's always on point. And you can read this testimonial for yourself. It's posted up on my website, you know, loud and clear for everyone to see. But what she basically expressed to me and to everybody who read the testimonial was that her getting readings with me helps her have a more peaceful prayer life. Those were her exact words, a more peaceful prayer life. And the reason that she explained it that way is because she says, I can ask Val all the questions that I need to ask, get my strategy together, get my game face on, know what I have to do. But then when I get ready to pray, I'm not begging for something to happen. I'm more thankful in my prayers. I'm more introspective in my prayers. It's not like I'm begging God to do something for me because I don't know what to do. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
Yeah.
So she's putting herself in a position to receive her
Absolutely.
blessings rather than
Beg for them.
Right.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's why she utilizes my services, because, you know, she said, I don't have to beg God for anything. I don't have to beg God to try to give me a sign and help me figure it out. I don't have to stress myself. She said, I don't have to do any of that. All I have to do is book a reading with you, ask you my questions. You give me my answers. I have my game face on. I have my plan in place. I have my strategy in place. I know exactly what I have to do in order to handle this particular situation. And after all that moves out of my way, I can thank God. Because and that's another thing too that I like to bring up in this particular line of work. We've been taught to pray the wrong way. We've been taught to, reaching back to what I just finished talking about, we've been taught to beg God for things. Oh God, will you please, 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 please give me this new job? Oh God, I just really, 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 really need this new car. I need it. We're begging, right? That's not how you're supposed to pray. And I go into all of that, on, blog posts. I plan to do a video about it. But yeah, there's just been so many things that we have been taught that are not exactly right. And, of course, when I kind of step on the scene, and because I have, have this experience with tarot cards, there are certain understandings that I recognize that are different than what we were taught in the Judeo-Christian tradition. For instance, the concept of sin is absolutely not what we think it is at all. And it was the tarot that helped me recognize what sin truly is. And I've actually talked about this at length on my Facebook page. And everybody who I talk to this about, they're like, oh my gosh, I never thought of it that way. And I'm like, exactly. Because we're going off of the Judeo-Christian tradition. But how we pray and what we believe sin is actually not, it's not what it is. And I respectfully submit that information to people just for them to think about. And when they think about it, they're like, dang, you're right. That's real right there. And so, yeah, those are just some of the things that I talk about, like on my Facebook page, in my blog posts, and actually on my website, which is my main platform for my business.
Okay, so while we're here, why don't you go ahead and give everybody that information so that they can get in touch with you?
Absolutely. So my website is www.valrichinfinity.com. That's VALRICHINFINITY.com.
Okay.
If there's a question that you would like to ask me, feel free to email me at readings@valrichinfinity.com. And that's READINGS. Readings@valrichinfinity.com. It comes directly to me. And yes, I do answer my emails. Yeah.
And do they need to be in person in order to do a reading with you, or can they do it over the phone?
I would say the large majority of the readings that I do are over the phone. I can do an in-person reading if you are in the Raleigh, North Carolina area. But again, I have clients all over the nation. I have clients in Florida. I have clients in New York. I have clients in California. I have clients in Texas, in Louisiana, and everywhere in between. South Carolina, Virginia, Chicago, Virginia Beach, Virginia. I have clients all over the nation, and like I said, internationally as well. I have a couple clients in England, someone in UAE, United Arab Emirates.
Mm-hmm.
I have clients everywhere. So yeah, if I have a Skype, and that's how I do my international readings. But if they're domestic, because I do live in North Carolina, I can get on the phone with you and get your reading done, and that is it. I urge everyone to visit my website. I have over 150 5-star testimonials. I do not have one single 4-star or below testimonial, not one. Every single testimonial is 5 stars, period. I'm real out here in these streets. Like it's a lot of people out here flexing. It's a lot of people out here. Oh yeah, I can read cards too. Blah blah blah. Okay. But I take great pride in my work. I do not need to be led. Meaning, when you get on the phone with me, you don't have to give me any information in advance. You don't have to tell me about your life story. I don't need any of that. As soon as we get on the phone, I'll ask you, how'd you learn about me? You tell me. You give me a question. If it's one of those, if it's the 15, 30, or 60-minute reading, you give me a question, and off I go. Or otherwise, if it's like the general reading, the relationship reading, or the business reading, I shuffle the cards, and away we go.
Okay.
Yeah, so I do have you can purchase your readings with me by way of PayPal. I will be expanding the type of payment methods that I will accept this year, but it's a little bit of a process, as I'm sure many of you know. So, but as of right now, I do accept PayPal, and I have had people send me their fees for their reading by way of Western Union, or what's the other thing?
No, you mean like MoneyGram or something along those
MoneyGram,
lines?
absolutely.
Gotcha.
So I do accept that.
Okay.
MoneyGram, Western Union, or PayPal.
Okay.
Yeah, and so I'll be expanding my payment options they'll be opening up a little bit later on this year. But yeah, I'm super excited to work with you guys. I don't have any type of judgmental type of way about myself. I do service the LGBTQI community. Um, not homophobic, not transphobic, not, none of that. I do have clients who are gay and lesbian, and they get their questions answered just fine. If there are any, anything that comes across in your reading as far as like a kink or like a sexual kink or a quirk or anything like that, I just, go on with the reading. For me, it doesn't really have any, bearing unless you ask me a specific question about that. But, I am 100% non-judgmental.
All right.
I really do enjoy working with people. I just want us to be able to get down to the meat of whatever your issue is. If it is money, if it is finances, if it is love, if it is self-esteem building, if it is course correction, whatever it is, I can get to the bottom of it. So, and I'm very confident that I can do so. So I would love to, to have your readings, your readings. Love to have you guys get readings from me, and I am running a special right now, so that makes it even better.
Okay, and what's your special for right now?
Right now, as you know, 8/8/2017, which was yesterday, was Infinity Day. So I played on that. Infinity Day being, of course, that my business is Val Rich Infinity, right? So as of yesterday, I began my Infinity Day special, which is 60 minutes for $88. And with the 60 minutes, once again, that's 3 to 4 questions, right? You can go online to valrichinfinity.com/specials, book that reading. It's out there. So you would pay using PayPal, and then you would go back to that same spot where you were, and you would book through my online appointment tool. So that's the $88 for 60 minutes. And then I'm also offering a $44 reading for my 30-minute. So yeah, these readings are very, very specially priced. They will not be this low by the time 2018 rolls around. So definitely, if you guys want to take advantage of them, please, hop on. I also, you can also go and take a look at all of my testimonials. They are all posted online for you to see. www.valrichinfinity.com/testimonials. All of my testimonials are out there. The archived ones are on the website, and I do have my new electronic testimonials that are on my booking site. I use Setmore for my appointments, and so they're all out there for everybody and anybody who wants to read them. They can see them.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining me today, Val. Now, before we go, did you have a Black woman shout out for today?
I do.
Okay.
My Black woman shout out is going to go to all of the women ancestors who have come before me. So that would be my mom, Sylvia Richardson, who is she's an ancestor now. She's passed on. My grandmother, Mary. My great grandmother, Creasy. My great grandmother, great grandmother, Laura. Just all the women ancestors who have come before me. They literally have paved the way and made it, given me the ability to do, what I'm doing today. My mom specifically was in the military for 20 years. She was in the Army. She literally gave her life for me to be here and to succeed. And I will never take that for granted. And I'd also like to give a Black woman shout out to you. Thank you so much.
No, you don't have to do that.
But seriously though, thank you so much for having me on your show. Like, this is amazing. And I would definitely, if if there's some type of segment or something like that, as far as like spirituality is concerned, that you would like to discuss, or have your listeners get some further insight on, I would be thrilled to come onto your podcast and kind of throw some things out there, talk about some things, and maybe interact with your listeners. This is an outstanding thing that you're doing. I mean, hey, you're doing the good work, and so you will round out my Black woman shout out.
Oh, that's very sweet. You don't have to do that. We do this for y'all, for real. Like, I need us to get put out there. So anything I can do to make that happen, I'm gonna do it. So I really do thank you for joining us today. What you gave me was really interesting. I think that if I get some really good interest, I would love to have you back to have a spiritual segment. So just let me know, guys. If you would love to have a little talk with Val on the podcast, we can certainly do that. So thank you so much for joining me, Mama. You have a great day.
All right, you too. Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.